this supplementary budget to actually follow up as the supervisor of the ministries whether they are doing the right thing. My question is this: my colleagues have talked about corruption, but I want to go further and say the Auditor General is doing a very good job under the circumstances as an office. Every quarter or every year we have audit reports of how different government entities are spending their monies. I want to ask whether as a government we are taking keen interest on the audit reports or there are just other reports, and what actions are being done. Because as we talk about budget cuts, we have to talk about corruption and wastage as one of the things that has brought us to where we are. So I wanted to ask about the audit reports, or they're just reports, both from the counties, parliament, judiciary, all the way to the executive. The second thing that I wanted to raise is the issue of recurrent. It is good that you have stated how much money is being rationalized in the recurrent budget. We did for Parliament this morning under PAC, Judiciary has done, and there is always a perception that there is a lot more at the executive in terms of recurrent. The beautiful flowers we see, the teas, they could be minimal, but it counts for something. The travel in these parastatals all over, people traveling for an essential. There are meetings which are essential where the country position maybe has to go and be represented, but just travels, even as members of parliament, we've ceded ground and we've said it's something that should be considered. So at the executive level, has that been really taken care of at the recurrent? And lastly, as you do your supervision, Kenyans are so keen. Please do not commit anything here in front of us and in front of Kenyans. And then, Chini, Maji, people are still traveling, people are still doing the same things you have committed here, that it won't happen. They will be so keen to follow up to see that it is actually happening in those ministries and departments. To my second last issue, an issue like NHIF. Do we need to still move to shift, or you do reforms in NHIF? Because there are costs that will be incurred as you move to shift. Can we just do reforms of NHIF? Because the majority of it was working. So can we just, improve and make the reforms that we need at NHIF? The issue of communication, you have stated rightly. KRA and Treasury, you need to work on your communication in a language that Kenyans understand. Why we need to raise, why the taxes need to be raised in a certain manner, and as you're considerate also to Kenyans, but your communication is key. And finally, I don't understand why the president has 10 or 8 advisors on economics, and then Treasury is doing its own things at Treasury. Then some of your advisors are talking like they are not in the same government. They are even talking against you, Treasury. And you're wondering, are you working together? Are you, there could be a challenge and a problem between the advisors and Treasury, because I thought the main key person to advise the president on issues to do with economics is the cabinet secretary responsible with Treasury. Now you have some people who sit in air-conditioned offices who don't understand what Kenyans are going through, and then they are just talking in cross-purpose communication. And maybe that is where the big challenge in terms of Treasury and even the president, the issue is going. So as I conclude on the taxes, also you said Kenyans are resilient. Kenyans are resilient. They can even be looking for ways to circumvent paying taxes. That you think we are resilient, but the more you continue taxing us, and that is why the raising of taxes is not commensurate to how much we are getting, because Kenyans are just looking for ways of surviving under the tough circumstances. So we need to get a way to communicate and convince them why they should pay taxes and why they get value for the money of it. And as you tell us about the debts and everything, I think that should be public information. Audit your debts, tell us where we are so that we understand and we move together. Don't just be telling us every other time we have loans to pay. Kenyans are asking which loans, what were they for, did we get value for money, and how much are we paying? Two for us, simple, and we will understand and work with you.
Honorable Machako.
Thank you, Chair. I like first to commend the National Treasury and the PCS for a good presentation. Chair,